So from the beginning, from the 25th dynasty, we have Nubian rule. Nubian rule begins about 727 before Christ, and actually only lasts for about 60 years. And what was the background? The Egyptians, since the third intermediate period, the Egyptians lost Nubia. So Nubia was independent, and Nubia becomes stronger. Because whenever Egypt gets weak, Nubia gets strong. And whenever Egypt gets strong, Nubia gets weak. And this was now exactly a time where Nubia's power grew. And at the same time, around 750, we also have the quarrels between Upper and Lower Egypt, because there were all the local states which were fighting each other. And therefore, the Nubians saw that the time is ripe to invade Egypt. So, under Piye I, they invaded Egypt. Pharaoh Kashta advanced to the first cataract, and this Pharaoh Piye, he made the final reunification of Egypt under Nubian leadership around 747 to 716 BC. This new kingdom, this new Egypt that was formed now, this is also called Kushite Egypt, because the Nubian people, they were also called the Kushites. And this is now, we have the time of the Kushite age, of Kushite Egypt. And the Kushite kings, or the Nubian kings, you can say both names, they started to rebuild the pyramids. We can see, for example, here the pyramids of Meroe, of Nuri, and of Jebel Barkal. And these are all pyramids built in Sudan, actually. And when we look at them, these pyramids are not, they don't look really big. For example, when we remember of the pyramids of Gizeh, but actually these pyramids are really big. So they're indeed about 30 to 50 meters high. This shows that they restarted the Egyptian tradition of pyramid building. What can we say about Kushite age? We can say that in Kushite age, Kushite rule was a very conservative rule. So the Nubian kings, they wanted to restore the Egyptian culture and the Egyptian religion. But why did they want to restore Egyptian culture when they had an own culture? The answer is that the Nubian culture was the same as the Egyptian culture. Because when they were under the rule of the new kingdom, for more than 500 years, the Nubians were fully Ammonized and fully were assimilated into the religion of New Kingdom Egypt. That meant that they accepted the Egyptian religion and their Egyptian culture to be their own culture. And therefore, when the Nubians saw that in Egypt, the Maat, so law, justice, and order in the home country of the Egyptian gods, that it was lost to Amarna during the third intermediate period, this was very disturbing for them. And therefore, they went on to some form of a holy war, because they wanted to restore the Egyptian gods and restore the Egyptian religion and the Egyptian culture in their home country, Egypt, which was at that time in chaos. And therefore, they invaded Egypt and renewed the Egyptian kingdom. Why was there no rebellion when the Nubians invaded Egypt? Because now this was a problem, because the Nubians, they were from another country. Because the Egyptians themselves, they welcomed the Nubians, because they thought, oh, now after more than 300 years, 200 years of third intermediate period local kingdoms, we have a newly unified Egypt. And they thought that the Nubian kings under a unified Nubian Egypt could bring about new greatness to Egypt. Additionally, it was not really a big problem for the Egyptians to accept the Nubians as the rulers, since the Nubians themselves were part of Egyptian culture and religion, and even restored everything that was destroyed in the Third Intermediate Period when it comes to Egyptian religion. Now, Kushite age was only in the 24th and the 25th dynasty, and the climax of Kushite rule in Egypt was reached at around 690 to 664 BC under the reign of Taharqa. Because from that time we know that in Egypt there were strong rainfalls. That meant that Kushite Egypt was booming economically. And additionally, all the old Egyptian temples, they were restored and reconstructed. However, this some form of golden age of Kushite Egypt didn't last for long, because now the Assyrians, who got stronger and stronger, they got into conflict with Kushite Egypt. We will see later that until 664 BC, the new Assyrian Empire, they invaded Egypt and they defeated Kushite Egypt. And therefore, the Kushites, so the Nubians, they had to retreat back to their home country, back to Nubia. 70 years later, around 591, they tried to reconquest Egypt from Assyrian rule, but this reconquest failed, so they finally had to retreat to Meroe. Meroe is the Nubian capital in Sudan, today's Sudan, and from that point on, they never tried again to invade Egypt. So here we can see the archaeological site of Meroe today. So many pyramids built there following the Egyptian pyramid building period. And also the Kushite age, or the kings of Egypt, which were from Nubian descent at that time, they are called the Black Pharaohs. Black Pharaohs because they came from Sudan, so from Central Africa to north to Egypt, and therefore this kingdom of Kush, which Egypt was part of for about 70 years, is also called the kingdom of the Black Pharaohs. Often forgotten, but indeed it plays a very important role in Bible history. And we are going to look at that now.